Hello, my name is John Burris. Thank you for joining me today for this short video. This video is called The Psoas Muscle's Vital Importance. In this video, we'll be exploring the importance of the psoas muscle and how it's often neglected and mistreated, and the dysfunction that happens because most people know very little about this muscle and how to keep it healthy. So when that happens, all kinds of bad things start to cascade after that. Most often because we're never trained how to understand or even identify the psoas muscle and its role in our health and body. So in this video, my hope is that you'll come away with a deeper understanding of the psoas muscle and its relationship in our body and all the complications that happen when we neglect it or mistreat it. There are over 640 individual muscles in the body, and most of us know about the quads and the biceps and the triceps and the pec muscles, because that's what we do. We go to the gym, we lift weights, we work on that. Tuesday's quad day, Wednesday's bicep day. Yet almost nobody understands the psoas muscle and its deep implications in our body, because we're not trained in that way. We're all practicing what's called old anatomy, which is based on hundreds of years old ideas that are no longer relevant. And we're practicing a model that doesn't teach us the relevance and the importance of the psoas muscle. Instead, we're focusing on muscles that are good for cosmetic appearance, but the psoas muscle is one of the most important muscles in the body, and most people know almost nothing about it. So the psoas muscle is spelled P-S-O-A-S. You don't pronounce the P. It comes from the Greek language, meaning the muscle of the loins. So it's the groin muscle, but it's much more than that. And basically, in my history of studying anatomy, in grade school anatomy, in high school anatomy, in college anatomy, even in massage school or yoga school, I never heard about it. Or if I did hear about it, it was just on a test where I was just to memorize a muscle and then repeat it and regurgitate it on a test so I can get a grade. I never really understood it. And in my whole anatomy training, it wasn't given that much importance. And that's part of the mistakes we're making. Is the psoas muscle is one of the most important muscles in the body. It's also one of the largest muscles in the body. And we give it almost no respect or importance. And in all my years of anatomy training, it's almost non-existent, except for it's a name on a test. And so I think that's a big mistake. When I came to learn about my own healing process, I had over 30 years of back pain and sciatica and other hip pain, whatnot. The psoas muscle was a key player in that. And I had to change directions because what I was told to do to correct my back problems were making it worse, because I was inadvertently tightening up my psoas muscle, which I should have been loosening it. So what I found in over 40 years of being a massage therapist and body worker, almost everybody who has a back problem, sciatica, a disc problem, has a psoas problem. And we're not being told that. And so most people are doing the wrong things because they're getting really bad information, or in most cases, old information that's hundreds of years old, and it's causing even more problems because the medical community and the sports and fitness community don't understand the psoas, or they don't understand new anatomy. So they're trying to tighten up the psoas, which makes problems worse. Orthopedic surgeons and back doctors don't understand the psoas and its implications. They're trying to make things worse. So in order to understand the psoas, we can heal the body. But in the current medical world, from physical therapy to sports therapy to personal trainers to Pilates classes, most people are mistreating the psoas, causing it to shorten and tighten, causing more problems in the body. So today I'm going to reveal to you what the actual current thing you need to be doing. And the current trend today in today's establishment is to make the psoas worse. And we need to change that and reverse that. So my understanding, when I started to heal from my back problems and sciatic problems, I had to lengthen my psoas. I had to look at the body completely different, and not just the psoas, but the surrounding fascia tissue, which is the saran wrap like substance that goes around the muscle tissue and how it's all connected. So for me, I didn't really have a back problem, as I was told. I had a leg problem. My leg was spiraled and twisted from old injuries that mostly happened in my foot and ankle and caused a spiral in my leg and ended up causing my psoas to tighten, pull into my back. And what I found, most people I work with who have back problems have a psoas problem, but they also have a rotation in their leg and they have tight fascia. And most people are doing mostly the wrong things in the established practices through their medical doctors or their physical therapist or their Pilates teacher. They're doing the wrong things, making things worse. So that's why we need to take a deeper look at the psoas muscle and the correct way to treat the body. So that's why I created New Anatomy, which dispels the myth of most of what's taught today, which is called Old Anatomy, which is hundreds of years old and is based on faulty thinking. And here's an overview of the psoas muscle. So to be correct, we're going to start out by, there's actually two muscles glued together. You have the psoas major here, and then the iliacus, which is here. They have the same insertion point in the groin, but they diverge inside the pelvis. So today we're just going to be speaking about the psoas major, which is the most important muscle, and the iliacus we'll save for another day. So the psoas major is here. That's what we're talking about here. The psoas will insert into the groin area, pass through the pelvis, and anchor onto the lumbar spine and T12 as well. So about 4 or 5 vertebrae it actually anchors onto. So the sad fact of the matter is that almost everybody with a lower back issue, it's not about your spine. Whether you're given a diagnosis of discompression or spinosis or herniated disc, it's almost always because your psoas is too tight, pulling on the vertebrae, which the psoas runs through into the groin and ends up into your lower leg. So when your psoas is tight, it causes discompression up here in your spine. Unfortunately, most medical professionals, whether it be a sports trainer, medical doctor, physical therapist, are trying to make this area tighter with core exercises. What they really should have been doing is loosening and lengthening the psoas so your compression in your spine goes away. So when I had back problems, I did all my core work, all my sit-ups, all my gym exercises, and it never cured my back because my psoas was too tight. The way I cured my back issues, I lengthened my psoas. Unfortunately, this is not what's being done in medical establishment. They're trying to teach you to harden and tighten your trunk, which causes your psoas muscle pulling on your lower back vertebrae, and it causes more problems. So the current model we're using is a disaster for your psoas, and it makes your back problems even worse. Just because your pain goes away doesn't mean you've cured your problem. So many people do their core exercises, their pain goes away, but they're still have problems many years down the road because they never cure things because their psoas never gets released. Well, the problem is the medical establishment, Western scientific medicine, sees the body all wrong. They see the body as a column that needs to be strengthened and hardened and tightened and locked down. And this is the warrior model, the fitness model. This is the gym model. This is the current physical therapy model, and it doesn't work. And this is why there's over 1.5 million back surgeries every year. Because once you get one back surgery, you're going to get a second one, a third one, a fourth one. I've worked with people with 7 or 8 back surgeries because the first one never corrected it because they don't release the psoas muscle. They try to tighten around the spine, and they're still blaming the spine for the problem. Your spine is not the problem. Here's what's happening is, if this is your spinal vertebrae here in your lower back, the medical establishment is trying to strengthen this area. The problem is the fascia and the psoas are pulling the spine together. So to correctly correct your lower back issue, you have to soften and lengthen the fascia pulling through the psoas, so you create more space here. That's not what's being done in the medical model. They're trying to compress things, causing more compression, where the healing model is lengthening. Your fascia needs to be lengthened, and the psoas muscle, which connects through the fascia to the vertebrae, needs to be lengthened and released. That's not being done. That's called old anatomy that's broken. So what I'm inducing to you today is called new anatomy, where you see how healing really happens. So like all muscles in the body, they don't work independently. They work as a group and a unison. They're all connected together through the fascia network. So the fascia is the connective tissue, much like the white stuff in an orange. It's the scaffolding that holds us up. Unfortunately, most medical doctors know very little about fascia. Most personal trainers, physical therapists know very little about fascia. So how can we treat something correctly if we know nothing about it? So the problem is, your psoas is not alone in its mission of contraction and tightness and pulling on your vertebrae. It's in working with other areas. So what I noticed when I was healing my body, my psoas was tight, my hamstring was tight, my rotators were tight, my inner thigh muscles, my groin muscles were tight, my abductors they're called. Then I had a tight twisted knee, and below the knee my calf was tight and my shins were tight, and I finally traced it back to some ankle and foot injuries I'd had early on playing sports, and it caused a spiral and a rotation in my leg that ended up tightening up my psoas and eventually tightening up my back, but it started in my foot. And so most people don't realize that most back issues actually begin far below the knee. And then your psoas tightens up, and now you're labeled with back surgery. Because most medical doctors practice mechanism, which is looking at only where your pain is. They're not looking at the bigger picture. So this is the journey of the fascia through the network here. You talk about how we're connected here. The fascia is like the saran wrap, the scaffolding in the body. And when it's tight, it pulls to the body and it rotates your knee and it causes your upper leg to counter-rotate. It causes your hamstring to tighten, causes your quadriceps to tighten, and the groin muscles tighten, pulls on the psoas all the way into your lower back, because the fascia, being the scaffolding, will keep everything connected. So we can't just think about the psoas being independent. It's connected through the fascia network, and everybody I've ever worked on with back issues also has a leg issue, because their fascia is causing the psoas up here to be tight, because down below it's too tight and rotated. And here's another model to demonstrate how this works. So let's say you have an ankle injury down here, and it pulls your fascia tight, and it starts to stretch. So now it pulls on your knee. And then the fascia pulls into your hamstring, and you have a hamstring issue. And it pulls on your hip. And right here, the psoas is connected. And that's pulling into your lower back because your hips are shifting. And you're getting this shift in your hips. Psoas ends up being tight here because you've got this fascia tug along here, pulling through your knee, pulling through your ankle. So most people who have an issue in their back and their psoas, something's going on below. And it's causing rotations and spirals, because we're not taught how to take care of our fascia or our psoas. So almost every time somebody has a problem above their knee, like in their psoas here, it's coming from below somewhere. And here's another way to envision this, a problem in the lower leg. The fascia tightens up, it causes the lower leg to spiral outward across the knee. It compensates, and the middle leg will compensate, try to pull inward. And now your hamstring is tight, and now your psoas, which is connected to your adductors and your hamstring, begins to tighten up. And the psoas pulls through the groin and ends up into your lower back, pulling on your lumbar vertebrae, and you're now diagnosed with some medical condition like slip disc or spinal stenosis, all because you have fascia tightness rotating your leg, and you have a psoas that's too tight that goes undiagnosed, and now you're in surgery because they think you have a disc problem. You know, the origin of the dysfunction of the psoas comes from a medical system that's broken and practices ideas that are hundreds of years old. It teaches you that your skeleton, your bones hold you up. And so we need to tighten everything and harden everything and shorten everything as we're this column or pillar. Well, that's not actually how the body works at all. Your skeleton does not hold you up. That's old dinosaur thinking based on old models that are 400, 500 years old. Your bones do not hold you up. You do not have to strengthen your core, harden your body to hold you up, because your bones do not hold you up. We are not a column. We are not a pillar. Instead, what we're called a tensegrity model, what holds us up is tension based on the fascia acting as a scaffolding. And it's the fascia that holds us up and not the bones. This is the current model we're taught, that the body is a bunch of blocks that are stacked on top of each other. And that's not true at all, because this model teaches you to harden and tighten your core and your psoas muscle to keep you upright. This is not how the body works at all. That archaic beliefs is the same belief that builds houses. This house is made out of columns, and the gravity pulling down is supported by strong columns, a structure, blocks placed on top of each other. Unfortunately, we're not a building and we're not a column, and we need not stack blocks on top of each other for health. That is a wrong model. That teaches people to harden their psoas as they're hardening their abdominal muscles and their core muscles. This is the accurate model of how the body actually works. It's called tensegrity. We're not a column. We're tension being pulled by the fascia network that pulls every direction. And in this case, it travels through the psoas into your lower back. And the secret to dynamic health is to lengthen the fascia and lengthen your psoas, and not tighten your abs and tighten your core, because we're not a column. We're built on tension. In this picture here, what's holding this circus tent up, it's not columns or pillars. It's the tension from the cables that holds the tent up. That's much like the human body is. There's no need to strengthen a pillar, as in core work or Pilates work or gym exercises, because your core does not hold you up. It's the tension from the fascia that holds you up. You want to lengthen it and soften it. And another way to envision it is the fascia and the psoas are like the cables in a suspension bridge. The pillars are not holding the bridge up. It's the tension from the cables holding the bridge together and holding it up. And that's how the body actually works. It's held up by tension. We want to lengthen the fascia passing through the psoas to create dynamic health. So this is the model currently being taught, teaching people how to tighten their psoas. It doesn't work because we're not a column. We're not a column holding ourselves upright, because when you do that, you tighten your psoas up. So this is not who we are. What we really are, what's called a tensegrity model. We're tension that pulls in all directions. And as you know from this model here, there's no pillars, there's no columns. It's held together by equal tension. Well, that's how the body works. There's no pillars or columns. Your bones don't hold you up. There's no need to tighten your core or your psoas, because that's a dysfunctional model. The current way of thinking about ourselves is to lengthen your psoas and lengthen your other muscles and fascia, because we're a tension model based on tensegrity and not based on columns or pillars. It's errant thinking. It's 400, 500-year-old thinking we're still practicing. And here's another way to envision how the psoas is connected. When your groin muscles are tight and your hamstrings tight, it pulls through your pelvis, causes a pelvic tilt. So your belly pulls forward and it pulls on your lumbar back. So many people who are diagnosed with lower back issues really have a tight psoas that's pulling on their back from their inner groin and then rotating down their leg in the interconnected fascia network. So once again, the psoas muscle, most of us know nothing about it and we mistreat it. We're taught to harden our core, do our core work. Media, medical professionals, sports trainers, they're teaching you 500-year-old bad ideas. They're teaching you the body's a column. It's not a column. It's tightening up your psoas. They're creating more compression in your back when you do that. It's the wrong model. It's called old anatomy. It's based on old ideas, and it doesn't work. I did it for decades trying to cure my back problems, and it didn't work. And most people, they keep doing it because that's what their medical professional and the media are telling them to do. But it does not work because your psoas is not isolated. It's embedded in the fascia network that pulls through the body and especially down the leg. And most people, almost everybody I've ever seen with a back problem also has a leg problem through the fascia pulling through the knee into the hamstring and groin, causing the psoas to shorten, causing the lower back to compress, and now you're diagnosed with some crazy lower back condition. So most people are following ideas, including the medical profession, that are completely backwards and harmful. And here's another model to think about. If this is your spine here, and this is the back of your body, the front of your body, when you do your core work, your ab work, you're shortening the body. So what you're doing is you're causing the muscles in the fascia to shorten, and you're pushing. So your psoas is in here, and your psoas is tightening, and you're compressing your spine because you're shortening everything. And your psoas is shortened, your spine's now compressed, and this is what the medical establishment's teaching you to do. Create a short psoas, a short spine, and they're actually causing most people's back issues. And it gets even worse than that. There's other issues that happen because we have a compressed spine. And we'll talk about that now. And first I want to introduce you to the work of Donna Farhi in her book called The Breathing Book. So when you compress your trunk like in a tight psoas, like in doing all your core exercises, you can have a host of other problems. You can have male issues because it passes through the fascia passes through your prostate. You can have female issues because your ovaries are surrounded in the fascia near your psoas. You can have diaphragm issues because the diaphragm and the psoas connected through the fascia network. You can have heart issues because the same fascia that connects around the heart connects to the diaphragm and connects to the psoas through the center of your body. So by tightening up your psoas, either intentionally or by ignorance, you can cause a host of other problems in your body. This is a depiction of how the psoas travels through the body. So the fascia in the psoas from the inner groin travels and connects to the lumbar back, the lower back, and the T12. The same fascia connects to the diaphragm, which is in yellow, and the same fascia connects to the heart. And according to Donna Farhi, if you have a tight psoas and a tight diaphragm, there's a good chance you could have a heart attack. So from the studies of Donna Farhi, she talks about in her book, The Breathing Book, how there have been several studies of men who had previously had heart attacks, and they were looking at their breathing ability, and all of them breathe from their upper chest, which is the breath of stress. So that means they didn't have any capacity to move their breath through their diaphragm, which tells me their psoas muscle was completely locked up and tight, and their diaphragm was locked up and tight, and they had to breathe from the upper chest. And the implication of the study was that shallow upper chest breathing was one of the reasons they were having heart attacks. Let me show you how that works on a larger model. So this is the torso of the body. Here's your lungs, here's your heart, here's your diaphragm in yellow, here's your psoas down here. There's two of them, one on each side. And the fascia of the psoas pulls into the diaphragm, it connects to the heart. This all supposed to work together. So what happens is this. In the perfect world, when you inhale, the psoas goes down, the diaphragm goes down, it creates expansion in your lungs because the psoas is part of moving the diaphragm. And when you exhale, the psoas releases and it causes the diaphragm to push back up, and it essentially massages the heart. This action is relatable to how the psoas is working. This is your breathing. 80% of your breath comes from your diaphragm, or supposed to. And that's how your lungs expand. And your heart here is getting a massage every time the diaphragm moves, because your diaphragm your heart and your psoas are all connected here. And what's supposed to happen in a healthy world, if you breathe correctly using your diaphragm, you're massaging the heart with every breath. But what happens if you have a tight psoas? Well, your diaphragm isn't moving and your heart's not moving, so you're not getting that massage in your heart, and your lungs are basically shallow breathing because you have to breathe from your upper chest. And here's what happens when you do all your Pilates and all your core work here. You basically put on a layer of tight muscle tissue here. And now you've hardened your abs because you want to look out at the beach. Your diaphragm's not moving, your psoas is moving, and you have to breathe from your upper chest. And the implication of the studies are that you're actually not getting the massage in your heart now because nothing's moving, and your heart is in worse shape because of that. So it's important to have a healthy, relaxed psoas, which creates a healthy, relaxed diaphragm, and a healthy, relaxed heart, because remember, it's all connected in the natural world. So a healthy system is one that flow and moves. Unfortunately, we live in a culture that teaches us to harden and dry out. It's called fitness and sport, and stress and sedentary living. And what that does, it causes your psoas to not move, to basically dysfunction. And your internal organs are now affected. Your diaphragm is affected, and possibly your heart as well. Because we're taught to harden the psoas, either deliberately or through unconscious behaviors. And we're taught basically to treat our bodies like a column of bricks that need to be hardened. Bad thinking, but that's the model we're in today. And that's why so many people have back issues and other dysfunctions that lead to your abdomen, because their psoas is a key player. And once again, most people, including medical professionals, have little to no training in fascia and how everything's connected. So here's where we're left. So that's essentially the story of the psoas. It's basically one of the most important muscles in the body. It's one of the largest muscles in the body, and it's also almost unknown to most people. And in addition, most people know little to nothing about fascia, how the fascia is the scaffolding in the body that connects us all together. And we're treating the body improperly by our fitness training and our other types of exercises that are creating chaos in our body. So I see over and over again people come into my office with 5, 6, 7 back surgeries. They've been doing their gym workouts and their ab workouts, wondering why they're still in pain. I can give you a list of celebrities who are a mile long and athletes who've got back surgeries because they're doing their core workouts. It's wrong thinking. We're still following old anatomy that's hundreds and hundreds of years old. So in order to change that, what I did to heal my body, I started new anatomy, which is pay attention to my psoas, pay attention to my fascia, and lengthening and yoga became more important than strengthening and hardening. So I've done a lot of yoga, a lot of massages, a lot of fascia body work, focused movement approaches like with Feldenkrais. So I start to peel away the tension in my hamstrings to lengthen my psoas. Because if you can lengthen the psoas from the groin and the hamstrings, it takes the tension off the lower back. So I started doing a lot of recovery work. I stopped core exercises. I stopped the sit-ups and the ab workouts because that was destroying my back and my groin and my hamstrings even more. So in order to heal the body, you have to change your mind about the body. So for me to heal my body, I had to stop thinking about myself as a warrior that needed to be hardened and tightened and stiffened. I had to escape from the current medical fitness model, which is about hardening, tightening, drying out. And I had to enliven my body, think about my body more like a bag of water than a bag of rocks that need to be tightened and hardened. So by working that way, I am pain-free and I feel great in my body. But I had to break the model down and get out of the current model of hardening and tightening and shortening, because most people are inadvertently causing their psoas to be tight and hard and short, and they're actually creating most of their own problems because they're following a bad idea. So you too can heal if you have back problems or hip problems or other related issues, groin issues or groin tears or hamstring tears. It's all related. It's all related. You've got to invest in yourself. You do a lot of yoga, get a massage therapist, a fascia body worker, somebody who understands new anatomy and not basically relegate you to the jail time of old anatomy. You've got to stop the fitness workouts that are hardening and dying in your body because you're killing yourself by drying out. So what I did to heal, I just changed my mind about my body and it worked for me. So thank you for watching today. I hope this gives you some insights about the importance of the psoas, how it becomes dysfunctional, and how to cure it from whatever tension it might be causing your body. So if you'd like to know more, you can subscribe to this channel for more leading edge videos to come. You can visit me at my website, johnburris.com, for more leading edge articles. And I have a wonderful book called Return to Nature, The 5 Pillars of Healing. You can buy the book at Amazon or Barnes & Noble and find out more leading edge information. So I hope this gives you some insight. Thank you for joining me today.